So I'm here to talk to you about play, right? Now, I'm not a scientist, and I'm not a doctor, and I'm not a professional of play in any standpoint. I'm just a normal guy that likes to push a 12-foot beach ball through city streets, right? So how did I get there? During my thesis in architecture, I became extremely interested in bringing out public installations. I began to realize that people were less interested in what I was designing and more interested in what they were doing with them. And that began to get me really interested in this word play. This simple word, that has so many different meanings. So looking up the first meaning, you go to Wikipedia, what does play mean? And the thing that comes up is engage in an activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious or practical purpose. Okay, I get that, Play is something that I can do that's not work, right? That's something that, is taking away from the normal routine that I have. But is that really what it has to be? Does it have to be something that's, away from a regular practical purpose, or can it be that practical purpose? So I want you guys to begin to think about, what does play actually mean? And I want you to just think right now, the first thing that comes to your head when you think of the word play, right? So when we ask people this, they begin to think, youthfulness, childhood, friends, video games, creativity, curiosity, all these things began to come up. And you began to see all these different perspectives of this simple four-letter word, right? You began to see how people interpret it in different ways. People began to think of play, as a way of a community to come together, a way for them to sit in their room by themselves and get away from the community, a way for them to interact with their family, a way for them to engage, with others at a sporting event. And this really, depends on what our background is, where we come from as people. What is play interpreted in our minds, the way it's put into our minds? So, why do we play? That's the real big question. What is the importance of play? And I'm not going to sit up here and share with you Google images of a bunch of animals playing and, tell you how much it affects the brain development as we get older, and that, as you grow, the more you play, the longer you'll live. I'm not here to talk to you about that. I'm here to show you real people playing and their real reactions, right? So, because that's really what matters to us as normal people, normal people, right? The people that, aren't these scientists out, talking about these ideas of where, if we play more as a child, that I'm going to be more successful. A kid doesn't really care about that. A kid cares about, hey, I'm drawing on walls, and I could draw it wherever I want. I just want to be creative, and I want to have fun. So when we start to think about play and why we play, some of the first things we begin to think about is our childhood. That fact of to be a kid, to go back to the beginning, right? To think of this time when I can pick up a stick and a rock, and I could create this world, right? Where I can begin to, I'm out here, and I can take over the universe with this rock, and I can build this fort. But if I'm doing that as an adult, it's like, this guy's psycho. He's on drugs, right? Like, what's his deal? Even up here on the stage, you're like, okay, come on, guy, right? So the fact of it begins to get this negative connotation of play. It begins to think of, as we get older, the more I play, kind of the less I am to support my family and whatnot. So looking at this image, to be a kid, to go back to the beginning where I can be creative and explore and really begin to break away. And that's the first thing that comes to our mind, right? To be a kid, this image, to be able to do whatever you want. And it's like we get to see more and more of these images, right? And when you Google and look up online and you look up all these things about play, these are the first images you see, kids. And when people talk about how we're not playing as much as a society, the first thing people talk about is kids, right? Is that we're getting rid of recess in schools, that we're getting rid of the arts, that we're taking this play away from our kids. But is that really the problem? Or is the problem that as we get older, we're forgetting how to play? And then as we forget how to play as we get older, then we're pulling it away from our kids. We're saying, it's not safe for you to go outside and play. It's not safe for you to go to a public place and play. So we're seeing less and less images of this, of adults playing, right? So it's the same installations, same exact setup, and adults are playing. And you ask, well, you're up here saying that adults don't play enough, and then you're showing images of them playing. Well, it's the fact of making it okay for them to play, right? These were designed events that people feel it's okay for me to play. Because if this guy was up painting on a wall, he would be labeled as, a street artist, a hoodlum, right? He would go to jail, get arrested. If these people are grabbing furniture and public art and putting it on their heads, it would be like, what are these people doing, right? So it's a fact of creating that setting that play is okay for us as adults. So then we can begin to see more and more images like this. But then when you ask us as adults, why don't you play enough? The first reaction we get is, I'm too old, right? I'm too old to play. I got a family to support. I have to, get a job. I went to school. I paid all this money. I'm in all this debt. I have to get in my car and I have to go wait in this traffic and I have to go and do work and, live my life. I can't play. I don't have time to play. And we begin to get stuck in this daily routine, right? This routine where I get in my car, I go to work, get back in my car, I go home, maybe I watch a movie, and so forth, over and over and over again, right? And we begin to lose touch with what's really important. And, this routine begins to cause all these empty, dead spaces in our downtowns, in our communities, right? Because people are forgetting how to be a community. People are forgetting how to go outside and engage with one another through this act of play. So, the fact that we're not playing as much becomes to create these underutilized spaces that look just like this. These spaces that are full during the day, full and packed with cars, right? And then at night, they're completely empty, or the afternoon, the weekends, they're completely empty. And it's causing us, as a community to fail. So then, what's our result? We're going to build these parks. We're going to build these nice, beautiful parks for people to go to. But this is the image on a Saturday morning of those parks, right? It's a great space, but people don't know how to play. People have forgotten how to play. People have forgotten how to go outside and throw a ball and throw a frisbee and interact with someone, right? So we create these great architecture, these great pieces, and no one uses them, right? Unless we do a designed event where we say, hey, there's alcohol, come out and play, right? Because then it's okay for us to play, right? Then it's okay for us to go out and engage with another person. But on a daily basis, we've forgotten how to play. We've forgotten how to go outside and interact in a park. So how do we do this, right? How do we get people and show people how to play and show them it's okay to play, right? And the immediate response, like I said, is build, 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 build. Let's build new. Let's build these great parks. Let's grow these great things. But that's really not it. Really what it is to focus on the smaller scale, activating your city streets, right? So this is me on a bike that I ride around, has a bunch of music, it plays out. People started dancing, started engaging. And they're like, oh, there's that hippie riding the bike again. So because that's kind of what it's looked at. That's what it's looked at. The more we play, kind of the less we're accepted in society. Especially as an adult. But when people began to see that it's okay, and this was for an event that was happening downtown, people became like, oh, okay, we can play, we can interact. It's okay for us to play. It's becoming all right. And so what we're trying to do is make this accepted as a society. And how do we do that? How do we make people want to play more, right? How do we make people realize that play is okay as we get older? And then how we do that is by making these platforms in a public setting that get people introduced to this idea some more. So how we do that is breaking it into 3 different ways. Create. Making these platforms for people to be able to create and explore and begin to build different things. This is an installation that we have where people can begin to snap together and begin to build whatever they want in their imagination, right? There's less and less you see of these things in cities. Yeah, we have all this money, let's build public art, let's build this giant sculpture that you can stare at and walk by and I don't really care about, right? But let's give people the opportunity as a community to create. And with this installation, it's funny because the first thing is kids will run right up to it, right? And then all of a sudden the parents are like, no, don't touch that, right? That's a sculpture, you can't touch that artwork. And it's like, no, it's okay to play because that's how, as adults, as we get older, we see in our minds, right? We can't touch art, we can't play with art. So that's the first thing. The next thing is to inspire, to create opportunities in our communities for people to be inspired to play, for people to be inspired to come together. This is a shot of, again, the giant 12-foot beach ball that we roll around. This is in the lower 9th Ward in New Orleans. It literally looks like Hurricane Katrina hit yesterday. There's still holes in the roofs. The kids have nothing. We just started pushing this beach ball. Everybody's like, you're crazy, you're going to get shot. Right? It's like, we're pushing a giant beach ball. Who's going to shoot someone with a giant beach ball, right? So we're pushing this giant beach ball through the streets, and all these kids started to come out. They didn't ask questions. They weren't like, can we play with this? They just started coming out, pushing this beach ball with us through the streets. And seeing that moment of inspiring these kids, it's not about, they don't want to go to school. Their school there is this walled-in building that no one can even get in and out. There's no sunlight. So they don't want to go to school. They're just hanging out. So what's the first thing is they get in trouble, right? They don't have nothing to do there. So giving them this opportunity to see and go out and engage with one another and play, is really strong. So looking at our communities and inspiring people. The next thing is exploring. Creating these opportunities for people to break away from their routine, to begin to explore, and begin to walk through downtown, and I'm walking to my car, and maybe all of a sudden there's this moment where I can say, hold up, wait a minute, I want to see what this is over here. Oh, it's a musical bench that I can begin to play, and I can sit on and engage with somebody else. Creating these opportunities to break us away from that routine, because I think, we think you can preach to people all you want. Go out and play more. Get outside and play. You're not going to get out and play. No, you think I'm crazy, right? Like, again, I'm just some hippie up here talking about playing, right? So the idea is, let's give people these platforms to be able to do these things, do these opportunities, to begin to break away and explore and create and inspire. So making it okay. So this is me playing ping pong against the mayor of Tampa. Giving these platforms where it's okay for 2 men in a suit to be out and play. It's okay for that to happen. It's okay for me to go out in a suit and play a homeless man in that same park, right? Creating these moments where it's accepted. Yeah, it's a giant ping pong table in the middle of the park, but it's okay, right? It's okay. The mayor's playing, so now I don't look like a hoodlum outside playing. It's okay for me to do this on my lunch break. And I think this is a great quote. You can discover more about a person in an hour of play than in a year of conversation. Think about that, right? When you think about sports, and as we grow older, and as in our youthfulness, we're playing with people through different ways. And that's really how I become to realize who these people are. And then my best friends are from who I played sports with, or when I went to school and met them in recess. That's how I really get to know who someone is. And companies are beginning to adapt to this in their working environment. You look at Google, it's a perfect example of creating a playful environment in their work atmosphere, and people are coming together and these great ideas are happening. So how can we begin to implement this as a community? And so we go out and we do these different installations. This is one where people are playing with interactive projection. You could see yourself on a giant wall. It was pretty cool. And we were out there one day, and we get our normal crowd of like friends and people that follow us and whatnot. And this homeless guy walks over, and he goes, can I play? Or he's like, ask the normal thing. He's like, can I have some money? Can I come over here? What's going on? And we're like, we don't have any money, but you can hang out, right? Feel free to hang out, do what you want. He's like, okay, hang out. We had a car that you can draw on, so he's drawing the car. Slowly works his way around. You see this over in the park, there's this middle-class family playing with the giant beach ball. And slowly you see this homeless guy walk his way over, right? And slowly you see these barriers begin to break down. This homeless man walks over, right? Slowly, kind of cautious. The family doesn't look twice. They throw the ball over to him. He starts playing. They start throwing it back. They start smiling, they start laughing. They become two people just playing in a park. What's the normal interaction you would see there, right? The normal interaction would be him asking for money, don't talk to him, right? Telling the kids, don't talk to him, right? Or here's some money, don't talk to me, right? That's the normal interaction. But we introduce this idea of play in a public setting, and they just become two people in a park playing with each other. Thank you.